The 1971 one-penny coin of the United Kingdom bearing the inscription Elizabeth II DG Reg FD is a historically important and widely collected coin because it represents a turning point in British monetary history, arriving at the moment of decimalisation, when the UK moved away from its centuries-old pounds, shillings, and pence system to the modern decimal currency used today. Issued under Queen Elizabeth II, whose portrait appears on the obverse, the coin was introduced as part of the massive national changeover that officially took effect on February 15, 1971, Decimal Day, although coins were minted slightly earlier to prepare the public and economy for the transition. The obverse features Arnold Mackin's iconic portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, facing right, wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a design that became one of the most recognizable royal effigies in British numismatics. Surrounding the portrait is the Latin legend Elizabeth II DG Reg FD, which expands to Elizabeth II, Dei Gratia Regina, Fidei Defensor, translated as Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith, a title with deep roots in British monarchy, dating back to the reign of Henry VIII and still used on British coinage today. The reverse design, created by Christopher Ironside, shows a portcullis with chains, a symbol long associated with the Palace of Westminster and Parliament, representing authority, security, and continuity of government. Above the portcullis appears the denomination 1 penny, while the date 1971 is placed below, marking the inaugural year of decimal bronze pennies. Physically, the 1971 1 penny is composed of bronze, 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, 0.5% tin, weighs 3.56 grams, has a diameter of 20.32 millimeters, a plain edge, and a metal alignment, all specifications carefully chosen to distinguish it from the older pre-decimal penny while keeping a familiar feel for public acceptance. Tens of millions of these coins were minted, primarily at the Royal Mint in London, making the coin extremely common in circulated condition, though it remains culturally significant as the first decimal penny many Britons ever handled. While most 1971 pennies have modest monetary value today, usually only worth face value or slightly more if well-preserved, uncirculated or proof examples, especially those included in official Royal Mint proof sets, can command higher prices among collectors. Errors, die cracks, off-metal strikes, or exceptionally sharp strikes can further increase desirability. Beyond its physical characteristics, the coin holds symbolic importance. It represents modernization, the simplification of British currency, and the adaptability of a nation steeped in tradition, all while maintaining royal and historical continuity through its Latin inscription and heraldic imagery. For many collectors, the 1971 1 penny is less about rarity and more about historical resonance, serving as a tangible reminder of a major societal shift, the enduring reign of Queen Elizabeth II, and the evolution of British coinage from medieval systems to a modern economic framework, making it an essential and meaningful piece in any collection focused on UK history or Elizabethan numismatics. Next top. The 1973 1 penny coin of the United Kingdom bearing the inscription Elizabeth II DG Reg FD is a classic example of early decimal British coinage and reflects a period when the new monetary system was settling into everyday life just 2 years after Decimal Day in 1971, making it historically significant even though it is not rare. Issued during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, the coin continues the visual language established at the start of decimalisation and helped normalize the new value system for the public, especially as prices, wages, and accounting were still psychologically adjusting from the old pounds, shillings, pence structure. The obverse of the 1973 penny features the first crown portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Arnold Mackin, one of the most enduring royal effigies in modern coinage, showing the Queen facing right and wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a wedding gift to Queen Mary and later inherited by Elizabeth II. This portrait emphasizes continuity, dignity, and stability during a time of economic change, while the surrounding Latin legend Elizabeth II DG Reg FD translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith, a title rooted in centuries of British monarchy and religious tradition, reinforcing the sovereign authority behind the nation's currency. The reverse design, created by Christopher Ironside, displays the portcullis with chains, an emblem historically linked to the Palace of Westminster and the authority of Parliament, symbolizing governance, protection, and constitutional continuity. Above the portcullis appears the denomination 1 penny, while the date 1973 sits below, clearly marking the coin as part of the early decimal era rather than the pre-1971 system. The 1973 penny is made of bronze, with a composition of approximately 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin, giving it the warm reddish-brown tone associated with traditional British pennies before the later switch to copper-plated steel in the 1990s. It weighs 3.56 grams, measures 20.32 millimeters in diameter, has a plain edge, and uses metal alignment, all of which were consistent across bronze decimal pennies of the period to maintain uniformity and public familiarity. Large quantities were struck by the Royal Mint, resulting in high availability today, especially in circulated condition, as these coins were heavily used in everyday transactions throughout the 1970s during a period marked by inflation, industrial change, and economic challenges in the UK. From a collector's perspective, the 1973 1 penny is generally modest in monetary value, often worth little more than face value unless found in brilliant uncirculated condition, part of an official Royal Mint proof set, or exhibiting notable minting errors such as misstrikes, off-metal examples, or dramatic die varieties. However, its appeal lies far more in its historical and educational value than in rarity. Culturally, the coin represents a society adapting to modernization while preserving tradition, blending ancient Latin titles and heraldic symbols with a simplified decimal system designed for efficiency and global compatibility. For many collectors and historians, the 1973 penny stands as a quiet but meaningful artifact of post-war Britain, an everyday object that reflects the long reign of Queen Elizabeth II, the authority of Parliament, and the successful transition to a monetary system that continues to shape British life today. Next top. The 1981 1 penny coin of the United Kingdom with the legend Elizabeth II DG Reg FD represents a mature stage of Britain's decimal coinage and captures the character of the early 1980s, a period defined by economic restructuring, inflation control, and social change under a long-established decimal system, making the coin historically meaningful even though it is common. By 1981, decimal currency had been in everyday use for a full decade, and the 1 penny coin was firmly embedded in daily life, commonly used for small purchases, change, and pricing psychology, while still retaining traditional royal symbolism. The obverse features Queen Elizabeth II's second definitive portrait, designed by Arnold Machin, showing the Queen facing right and wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a familiar and reassuring image that had appeared on British coins since 1968 and remained in use until 1984. The surrounding Latin inscription Elizabeth II DG Reg FD translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith, a formula steeped in centuries of monarchical tradition, emphasizing continuity of sovereign authority even as British society and its economy evolved. The reverse design continues Christopher Ironside's portcullis with chains, a powerful emblem associated with the Palace of Westminster and the UK Parliament, symbolizing constitutional governance, stability, and protection. The denomination 1 penny appears above the portcullis, while the date 1981 is positioned below, clearly situating the coin within the final decades of traditional bronze British pennies. Compositionally, the 1981 1 penny is struck in bronze, consisting of approximately 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin, giving it the rich brown color and solid feel that many collectors associate with true British pennies, before rising copper costs forced a shift to copper-plated steel beginning in 1992. The coin weighs 3.56 grams, has a diameter of 20.32 millimeters, a plain edge, and metal alignment, maintaining complete consistency with other bronze decimal pennies of the era to ensure public familiarity and ease of use. The Royal Mint produced very large numbers of 1981 pennies to meet circulation demand, and as a result the coin remains extremely common today, especially in circulated grades, though examples in brilliant uncirculated condition or as part of Royal Mint proof sets are more desirable to collectors. From a numismatic standpoint, the The 1981 penny is not valued for rarity but for its place within a clearly defined historical timeline, sitting near the end of the Mackin portrait era and within the last decade before fundamental material changes to British low-denomination coinage. Occasional minting errors such as double strikes, off-center strikes, or planchet flaws can add interest and value, but these are relatively uncommon. Socially and culturally, the coin reflects an everyday Britain in transition, one adjusting to new economic realities while still relying on familiar symbols of monarchy and parliament, making it a small yet meaningful artifact of the late 20th century United Kingdom. For collectors, historians, and casual observers alike, the 1981 one penny serves as a tangible reminder of Queen Elizabeth II's long and stable reign, the endurance of traditional coin design, and the quiet importance of ordinary objects that pass through countless hands while witnessing national change. Next top. The 1994 one penny coin of the United Kingdom, issued during the long and historically significant reign of Queen Elizabeth II, represents both a functional unit of British decimal currency and a small but meaningful artifact of late 20th century British monetary history, reflecting traditions that stretch back centuries while also embodying modern minting practices. This coin was struck by the Royal Mint, the official mint of the United Kingdom, and forms part of the decimal coinage system introduced in 1971, when Britain transitioned from the old pounds shillings pence system to a simplified decimal structure. By 1994, this system had been firmly established for over 2 decades, and the one penny coin had become a familiar object in everyday life, used in small transactions, pricing, and change. The obverse of the coin features the third definitive portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Raphael Makhlouf, which had been in use since 1985. This portrait depicts the Queen facing right, wearing the George IV state diadem, a crown traditionally worn at the state opening of Parliament, and a necklace, lending the image a sense of regal continuity and dignity while remaining stylistically modern. Surrounding the portrait is the Latin inscription Elizabeth II DG Reg FD, which expands to Elizabeth II, Dei Gratia Regina, Fidei Defensor, meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith, a title deeply rooted in English and later British monarchy, with Defender of the Faith having been granted to Henry VIII by Pope Leo X in 1521 and retained even after the English Reformation. The reverse side of the 1994 penny displays the familiar design by Christopher Ironside, introduced with decimalization in 1971, featuring a crown portcullis with chains, a symbol historically associated with the Palace of Westminster and Parliament itself, representing authority, security, and the constitutional foundations of the British state. Above the design is the denomination one penny, while the date 1994 appears below, clearly identifying the year of issue. In terms of physical specifications, the 1994 one penny coin is composed of copper-plated steel, a change implemented in 1992 to reduce production costs, replacing the earlier bronze alloy of copper, tin, and zinc. As a result, although the coin retains a copper appearance, it is magnetic and significantly lighter and thinner than its pre-1992 counterparts, with a diameter of 20.3 mm, a thickness of approximately 1.65 mm, and a weight of 3.56 grams, characteristics that help collectors and the general public distinguish it from older bronze pennies. The edge of the coin is plain, consistent with lower denomination British coinage, and the alignment is medallic, meaning the obverse and reverse are aligned in the same orientation when flipped vertically. The 1994 penny was struck in large quantities, numbering in the hundreds of millions, as the penny remained heavily used at the time for everyday purchases, particularly in supermarkets, public transport change, and small retail transactions, making the coin extremely common in circulation and therefore generally of low monetary value today unless found in uncirculated, proof, or error condition. From a numismatic perspective, standard circulated examples typically hold only face value, while uncirculated examples may command a small premium among collectors interested in date runs, mint condition decimal coinage, or Elizabeth II portrait types. Proof versions, if issued as part of annual collector sets, are more desirable due to their superior finish and limited distribution. Historically and culturally, the 1994 one penny coin reflects a period of relative stability in Britain, occurring during John Major's premiership and a time when the monarchy remained a central symbol of national identity, even as the country navigated economic recovery, European integration debates, and social change. Although humble in denomination, the coin serves as a tangible reminder of daily life in 1990s Britain and of Queen Elizabeth II's enduring presence on the nation's coinage, a presence that spanned generations and evolved through multiple portrait styles, materials, and minting technologies. Today, the 1994 Elizabeth II one-penny coin stands not as a rare treasure but as a historically rich, widely accessible piece of modern British heritage, valued for its symbolism, craftsmanship, and place within the broader narrative of the United Kingdom's monetary and constitutional history. Next top. The 1999 one-penny coin of the United Kingdom, bearing the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II and the traditional Latin inscription Elizabeth II DG Reg FD, stands as a modest yet historically rich artifact of British decimal currency at the closing of the 20th century, encapsulating centuries of monarchical tradition while reflecting the practical realities of modern mass coinage during a period of social, political, and economic transition in Britain. Produced by the Royal Mint, the coin forms part of the decimal system introduced in 1971, in which the pound sterling was divided into 100 pence, and by 1999 the penny remained deeply embedded in everyday commerce despite its diminishing purchasing power, commonly used in retail pricing strategies, small change, charitable donations, and routine cash transactions across the country. The obverse of the coin features the third definitive portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by sculptor Raphael Makloff and introduced in 1985, depicting the Queen facing right while wearing the George IV state diadem, a crown traditionally associated with the state opening of Parliament, along with a necklace that adds formality and continuity to the royal image. This portrait was intended to convey dignity, maturity, and stability at a time when the monarchy was navigating increased public scrutiny and evolving societal expectations. Surrounding the portrait is the abbreviated Latin legend Elizabeth II DG Reg FD, which expands to Elizabeth II, Dei Gratia Regina, Fidei Defensor, translating to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith, a title rooted in English history since the early 16th century and retained on British coinage as a symbolic link between the modern constitutional monarchy and its ancient religious and ceremonial foundations. The reverse side of the 1999 penny displays the familiar crown portcullis with chains, a design created by Christopher Ironside for the introduction of decimal coinage and used continuously on pennies from 1971 until 2008, symbolizing the Palace of Westminster and the authority of Parliament, with the crown above the portcullis reinforcing the relationship between monarchy and democratic governance within the British state. The denomination 1 penny appears above the design, while the date 1999 is placed below, clearly identifying the year of issue near the end of the millennium. From a technical perspective, the 1999 one-penny coin is struck in copper-plated steel, a composition adopted in 1992 to reduce minting costs as rising metal prices made bronze impractical. Although the coin retains the traditional copper color long associated with British pennies, it is magnetic due to its steel core, a feature that distinguishes it from earlier bronze issues. The coin measures 20.3 mm in diameter, has a thickness of approximately 1.65 mm, and weighs 3.56 grams, with a plain edge and medallic alignment, meaning the obverse and reverse appear upright relative to each other when the coin is turned vertically. Pennies dated 1999 were produced in very large quantities, numbering in the hundreds of millions, because cash transactions were still dominant and the penny continued to serve a functional role in everyday commerce, making the coin extremely common in circulation and generally of minimal monetary value today unless preserved in uncirculated, brilliant uncirculated, or proof condition. Proof examples, typically sold in official Royal Mint sets, are especially prized by collectors for their sharply struck details and mirror-like surfaces. In a broader historical context, the 1999 one-penny coin was issued during the premiership of Tony Blair, amid significant developments such as devolution in Scotland and Wales, growing integration with Europe, and the rapid rise of digital technology, all of which would soon contribute to changes in spending habits and the gradual decline in the practical importance of low-denomination coins. Despite its humble value, the 1999 Elizabeth II one-penny coin endures as a tangible record of everyday British life at the threshold of the 21st century, embodying the continuity of royal symbolism, the stability of the decimal system, and the quiet historical significance of an object that circulated widely while marking the final years of a transformative era in the United Kingdom's monetary and cultural history.